George Orwell, the 25th of June 1903 to the 21st of January 1950, has proved to be one of the 20th century's most influential and thought-provoking writers. His fantastically small numbers of books have created excessive literary and political criticism. Orwell was once a socialist, however. At the equal time, he did no longer in shape into any neat ideology. He is high quality regarded for his novels, 1984, and Animal Farm, which each warn about the risks of a totalitarian state. Completed simply after the Second World War, they touched a chord due to the fact of present-day fears over the developing impact of nation control. He used to be major a political writer, however for Orwell, his object was once now not to promote a positive factor of view however to arrive at the truth, exposing the hypocrisy and injustice standard in society. Orwell's early life. Orwell used to be born Eric Blair on the 25th of June 1903, in Motihari, Bihar, in India. Shortly after his birth, he was once taken via his mom returned to Oxfordshire, England. His household have been financially poor, however an aspiring middle-class family. Orwell described it as lower upper middle class, a reflection of the significance he felt the English connected to classification labels. With his household unable to have enough money, expenses to ideal public school, he was once skilled at St. Cyprian's in Eastbourne, which served as a preliminary crammer to gaining a scholarship for public colleges like Eton. In a later essay, such had been the joys, he was once scathing of his time at St. Cyprian's, noting how challenging it was once to be blissful in such a mean-spirited environment. Aged 14, he used to be in a position to cross to Eton, the place he had higher recollections due to the fact of the larger mental stimulation. However, the focus of being tons poorer than many of his faculty pals remained. He left Eton with firmly held, middle-class, values however at the identical time a feel of unease with his social position. After school, he was once unable to have enough money, university, and for choose of a higher option, Orwell took a job with the Burmese civil service. It used to be right here in Burma that Orwell would commence to assert his independence from his privileged upbringing. Revealingly, Orwell later informed how he observed himself rooting for the neighborhood population, and despising the imperial ideology which he represented. He resigned from his function in 1927. In an essay Shooting the Elephant he describes his emotions on Burma. Theoretically and secretly of course, I was once usually for the Burmese and all in opposition to the oppressors, the British. As for the job I used to be doing, I hated it extra bitterly than I can possibly make clear. 1. It was once in the nature of George Orwell to attempt and see a state of affairs from different people's factor of view. He was once sad at accepting the traditional social wisdom. In fact, he grew to despise his middle-class upbringing so a lot he determined to spend time as a tramp. He desired to journey existence from the view of the gutter. His vivid experiences are recorded in his e-book, Down and Out in Paris and London. No longer should Orwell be described as a champagne socialist, by using residing with the poorest and underprivileged, he won a special perception into the realistic workings of working category thoughts and working-class politics. The road to Wigan Pier in the center of the splendid Depression, Orwell undertook any other journey touring to Wigan, an industrial city in Lancashire. experiencing the full results of mass unemployment and poverty. Orwell freely admitted how, as a younger child, he was once added up to despise the working class. He vividly tells how he was once obsessed with the thought that the working lessons smelt at a distance. I ought to agonize over their sufferings, however I nonetheless hated him and despised them when I got here somewhere close to them. 2. The road to Wigan Pier provided a penetrating perception into the situation of the working classes. It was once additionally a proper of passage for Orwell to stay amongst the humans he had once, from a distance, despised. The road to Wigan Pier inevitably had a political message. However, ordinarily of Orwell, it used to be no longer all captivating to the left. For example, it used to be much less than flattering closer to the Communist Party. This was once, regardless of the e-book being promoted through a frequently communist enterprise, the Left Book Club. Orwell and the Spanish Civil War. It was once combat in the Spanish Civil Warfare that Orwell got here to truly despise communist influences. In 1936, Orwell volunteered to battle for the fledgling Spanish Republic, who at the time had been hostilities the fascist forces of General Franco. It used to be a struggle that polarized nations. To the left, the hostilities was once a image of an actual socialist revolution, primarily based on the standards of equality and freedom. It used to be for these beliefs that many worldwide volunteers, from round the world, went to Spain to combat on behalf of the Republic. Orwell discovered himself in the coronary heart of the socialist revolution in Barcelona. He used to be assigned to an anarchist, Trotskyist birthday celebration, POUM. More than most different left-wing parties, they believed in the best of a actual Marxist revolution. To participants of the POUM, the warfare was once no longer simply about conflict. The fascist risk, however, additionally turning in a socialist revolution for the working classes. In his book, Homage to Catalonia, Orwell writes of his experiences. He notes the inefficiency with which the Spanish fought even wars. He was once enthused through the modern fervor of some of his birthday celebration members. However, one of the overriding impressions was once his perceived betrayal of the Republic, through the Stalinist-backed Communist Party. The Communists stood no longer upon the intense left, however upon the excessive right. In truth, this must come as no surprise, due to the fact the systems of the communist events elsewhere. 3. Unwittingly he observed himself engaged in a civil combat amongst the left, as the Soviet Union-backed Communist Birthday Party grew to become on the Trotskyite factions like POUM. In the end, Orwell narrowly escaped with his life, after being shot in the throat. He was once in a position to return to England, however he had learnt at first hand how revolutions should effortlessly be betrayed, thoughts that would later form his seminal work, Animal Farm. George Orwell, BBC. Orwell at the BBC. During the Second World War, Orwell used to be declared unfit for lively duty. He actively supported the conflict effort from the start. He didn't wait for the Soviet Union to enter like some communists. He additionally started out writing for the left-leaning journal, The Tribune, which used to be related with the left of the Labour Party. Orwell used to be appointed editor and used to be enthusiastic in helping the radical Labour authorities of 1945, which carried out a country-wide fitness service, welfare nation and nationalisation of principal industries. However, Orwell used to be no longer simply centered on politics. He took an energetic hobby in working category existence and English culture. His brief essays investigated factors of English lifestyles from fish and chips to the 11 regulations of making a right cup of tea. Orwell described himself as a secular humanist and may want to be integral of organized faith in his writings. However, he had a fondness for the social and cultural component of the Church of England and attended offerings intermittently. Barnhill_Durer Barnhill, Durer. He married Eileen O'Shaughnessy in 1936 and in 1944, they adopted a 3-week historical toddler, Richard Horatio. Orwell used to be devastated when Eileen died and sought to remarry, looking for a mom for his younger son. He requested countless girls for their hand in marriage, with Sonia Branwell accepting in 1949 in spite of Orwell's more and more negative health. Orwell was once a heavy smoker and this affected his lungs, inflicting bronchial problems. In the remaining years of his life, he moved to a faraway farm on the Scottish island of Jura to pay attention on his writings. Orwell passed away on 21 January 1950. His buddy David Astor helped him to be buried at Sutton Courtenay Churchyard, Oxfordshire. The two wonderful novels of Orwell have been Animal Farm and 1984. Animal Farm is easy allegory for revolutions which go wrong, based totally exceptionally on the Russian Revolution. 1984 is a dystopian nightmare about the risks of a totalitarian nation which features entire manipulate over its citizens.